Okay, so today is Samach Tes, and we're going to start Samach Tes on Bays on the bottom. Mamish, we're at the end of Shitas, Rabbi Yochanan, or we just fragged up Rabbi Yochanan, Tiyufta de Rabbi Yochanan, Tiyufta de Ula Tiyufta. We don't say Rabbi Yochanan, we say Tiyufta de Ula Tiyufta. Ula was the one that introduced Rabbi Yochanan. Then the Gemara is going to have a slightly another version of the Machlekes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan, Legabe Hichzir Ha'ober as Yadai. Do we say no backsies, no tracksies, and once he's out, there's no, you can't retract it back in, or do we say that he could stick his hand back in and be nutter b'shchitas imoy. That's going to be this. Then the Gemara is going to have 3 or 4 really lomder shashailas built on the sveikis, on the whole concept of hoitzia ober. And then eventually on the bottom of Daf Tzadik Tes, we're going to discuss the makar. What's the makar for Ben Pekua? We mentioned it yesterday. 2 makaris. The Gemara is going to discuss the 2 makaris in from the pasuk, and then at the end of the day, we're going to have the Mishnah legabe bechoris, which is really a halacha that's really not really shouldn't be in our Masechta Bechlal. It's not really. It doesn't pertain to treifus or shchita at all. But the only reason why it's here is because we're speaking about what happens b'meimai, which came in. So it's in here agav orcha. Okay, that's going to be today. I just want to read ois one last knech. I don't think if we druked ois yesterday. We discussed yesterday the 2 mega chakiris that run through the parak of Be'ema Makasha, and these 2 mega chakiris we have to remember clear. One, right? The 2 questions are like this. First of all, when the child is nitar, is the pshat that we look at it as if the shechita happened in the child. That means you did a shechita in the mother, and the uber was inside, so it's as if the child was hotar. Or the word is no. There was no shechita in the child. Yeah, those that want to tell 2 shmuzes of oisiv esbenoi. Yeah, that you could go either way. Or do we say that Kol Behema tells us that what? That no, as long as there was a shechita done on the mother, then everything that goes on in the child is mutter without shechita. That's going to be the suffix. That's suffix number 1. We discussed that there's a lot of. On the tzad that the shechita was done on the child, you have a problem because we know that at least like Rabbi Yehuda. And how we paskin that a lot of other yisurim are hutar aidei shchita simer. The marshal that there's no giranasha and chaylev. It's all hutar. We're going to actually mention it today in today's sugya that these things are hutar. So we see that kol b'behem is not a heter legabe shchita. It's a heter legabe everything. That's tam. It's a free for all. That would l'chura that would be a raya that it's a free for all. It's not about a shchita. But I want to say another kinei. Well, I want to link the 2 sveikis that we have. There's another hakira that we have, and this other hakira is definitely rishonim that hold on both teams. And I want to link these 2 sveikis. The other hakira is like this. What's the halacha? We have this din that if the hand sticks out, yeah, al kapanim like Rav, like the way we paskin, right? That if the hand sticks out and then comes back in, it's nesar, right? And once it's nesar, that's it. You can't undo the right. You can't undo it. Once he stuck his hand out, even if he pulls it back in, it's over, right? And that hand will never be hutta b'shchita simay. So, and the Gemara says elsewhere, so now the question is, the suffix is, and this is the big, it's definitely machlekes rishonim. We're going to have some more marmukaims today about it. Legabe cholov, we'll see that the yesh lachkor, if the hand went out and came back in, is the vart that there's a new isser of basa basada treifel is a chelu. or the word is, it's not the new Issa of Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu. The Issa now is, out what? Out that somehow Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu tells you that it's not Hutta B'Shchita Sima, and the problem is Alts Eva Menachai. That is the question, the suffix of that's the big Chakira. The Rambam famously says that you're going to get Malchus out Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu. Right, which would sound like, and the Tosfos in Makis that says that it's that this and other Yotzei are all one big lav of Yotzei Chutz L'Mechitzasei. It's a vice that has nothing to do with. It's not a word that it becomes Eva Menachai. Midach Kisa, there are other ayahs, like today's Rashba, that's going to be a raya that Avada it's out Eva Menachai. That the pshat is that somehow we learn that the Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu somehow tells you that the pshat is that once it's out, and it can't be Hutta B'Shchitas Imoy. We're just going to do a little bit accounting over here. We're just pulling up the loose ends of the Gemara. That the Brisa that we fragged up Rabbi Yochanan came from that the Brisa the Brisa wanted to say that Matam. Why does it say Batreifa? Why does it say Batreifa? The Fisha Matzina by Ma'aser Sheni and Bikurim. That even though Yiyatzu Lemchitzas and V'chazu, so that was what we mentioned. That the halacha is that Ma'aser Sheni and Bikurim, if it goes out of Yerushalayim, it's no problem. You can bring it back in, right? And so we want to know where we get it from. Amar the Fisha Matzina Ma'aser Sheni Bikurim Heicha Matzinu. Where's the Heicha Matzinu? Maybe Taken Chanami. Maybe Ma'aser Sheni Bikurim. Once you go out, it's farfal. Zok the Gemara. Loisucha lechol bisharecha ma'isa degancha bisharecha udleitechel avayotzu chusam nitzasam v'chazru mutarim. Yeah, that is the drasha that we learn out over there, and l'chura we're darshaning from the lashon of lechol bisharecha. As long as you're eating it bisharecha, it's fine. Tosfos asks a kasha that how do we know that we're talking about a case where it's yatzu v'chazru? Maybe we're just saying halacha legabi big vulin. I don't know. I mean, l'chura being medayik from the pasuk of lechol bisharecha. So I don't know. I wouldn't have time to be ma'ayin in Tosfos. But let's go weiter. B'ma'rava masnu hachi. The way we had the version of our Gemara, they said that question. The Machlokes Rav and Rabbi Yochanan is if there's an Isser of Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu on the arm that stuck out, or as it's called in Lamdish parlance, the Eiver Hayotze. Yeah, if the Eiver Hayotze, if there's an Isser, Eiver Hayotze, if it was Chazru, if there's a halacha of Basar Basar Treifa Leisechelu or not, right? That's B'marav Masachi. I'm sorry, Marava Masnu Hachi like the following way. Rava ma yesh leida leivarim. Rabbi Yochanan ein leida leivarim. It's the same question about this hand. The hand stuck out and came back in. Do we say that even though the rest of the animal was not yet, the rest of the fetus was not yet born, so we say that nothing was born and nothing happened? He pulled his hand in, and everything's over, finished. We erased it. It's an etch a sketch, and we're back to square one. Or no, yesh leida leivarim, which means that on that hand, al kopanim, we say that hand was born already. Yeah. So what's the chiluk between the two versions of the machlokes of Rav and Rabbi Yochanan? If let's say a half a roiv of an aver stuck out and the rest of the aver stayed inside, yeah. So like the first version, we don't care. We're not looking at this as a leda. We're not looking at this as if it was already born, and therefore, what out is out, what's in is in, right? It's telling you what's out is out, what's in is in. Masha enkein legabe. If the lumdus is a much more lumdish mahalach, and the question is, if we're looking at the chart at the thing that it's born, so then we would go basa the roiv aver, and if the roiv aver is born, so that the whole aver will be neser, and we won't be able to be mata the miyat eva that's still inside. Now, loit man that holds ein leida leivarim. right? That the pshat is that right. So Machlokes Rav Rabbi Yochanan. This is the second version of the Machlokes Rav Rabbi Yochanan, and we're asking in the second version, in the second shita of the second version. In other words, in Rabbi Yochanan that says that even if the hand goes out, doesn't matter, no problem. We could just start all over again. We could stick it back in, and ain't laid, nothing happened, right? Nothing was born yet, right? Yadai v'chzira v'chazav hoitzi es yadai v'chzira ad she'eshlim ha'leru b'ay mahu. In other words, like this: do we say that absolutely nothing happened and we're back to square one? If it came back in, nothing happened, or do we say that nothing happened consequentially, right? Nothing happened that Lemaisa is gonna have any halachas, but we still remember what stuck out and what came back in. And if this uber sticks out a whole bunch of different parts of its anatomy, and eventually there's a whole roiv that went out. Now it's already a roiv, and therefore, even though it was never roiv v'asachas, but it was roiv at different times, maybe we'll look at it that it was noilad. Now, mi amrina hanafik le'ruba l'maisa soif kol soif roiv went out. I don't want even the hada. Once it went back in, and you never had a roiv all at once. Now, that suffix was clearly, like the Gemara says, only loy mandama ain't loy leivarim, because loy mandama yesh loy leivarim. We have nothing to declare, because once something sticks out, I don't care if it pulled back in. Lamaisa, it was out is out, and then the next part, and you have the whole animal was clearly born if roiv of it came out at any given time. However, then right, and that's very geshmak why the Gemara stole it. The next question is really not going to be told in the Shaila, but we just Rashi says that the next question is going to be the Chuli Alma. We just asked it in Tim Tzalema because it's on top of the question that we asked, but really this we can declare the Chuli Alma. In Tim Tzalema kivi the hada. If do we say that once Lamaisa once he went back in, and therefore, and in other words, we can't look at it as a leda in parts. Everybody, you got to have it all at once. What happens if the uber stuck out his hand and he chopped it off? And he stuck out his other hand and he chopped that off. And it kept on coming out piecemeal, and and every part that came out he chopped off. So what mao? Do we say that the uber is completely born? Or do we need that it should all be out roiv all together? And if you don't have roiv together, it's not considered born, and therefore. And it's not considered born for the rest of the animal. Do we say that it's born? Tashma. So we want to bring a raya. We want to be medayik, and it's this, from our Mishnah. Ze'aklal. Our Mishnah feardos. After it said the halacha, the difference in between if you chopped off a piece of the fetus or you chopped off a piece of the spleen and kidney. If you chopped off a piece of the animal itself, the animal proper, aser. But if you chopped off a piece of the fetus, then it's mutter, because it's mutter b'kobel behema, right? So the Gemara wants to know, what's the she'en gufa la'asuyei mai? What are we coming to be marba with the she'en gufa? We already said the halacha of our Mishnah that if a fetus is if that every part of the fetus inside the mother is mutter. What's this coming to the she'en gufa la'asuyei mai lav la'asuyei ka'egavno? Is it not coming to say this chiddush that in a case where I already cut out a whole bunch of pieces of the animal, right? Most of it is already cut out because it came out piecemeal and he chopped it off, but there's still a little piece inside. Maybe the Mishnah, the Tana wants to be marba that in such a case also the Ma'aser Sof goes Sof, it's Eina Gufa and it's inside it. Maybe it's Hota. Lav Lasui Zok more Lav Lasui Kagav Zok more Loy Lasui Kolub and made part of Reb Shimon, which we did this already before. That Reb Shimon holds a halacha. Rab Shimon holds the Afagav the Rab Shimon called Ben Para Aser. That Rab Shimon holds that even though the halacha is that Rab Shimon holds that if a para, a kosher animal, gives birth to an animal that doesn't have split hooves, so even though the mother is kosher, and this would seemingly be a kosher animal, but Lamaisa, since this child has a cleft foot, it's not split hooves, so therefore it's aser. So the Gemara, in such a case, but a kol b'mei para is even like Reb Shimon is going to be mutter shari, and that's what that's the extra chiddush of she'ena gufa, everything is mutter. Yeah. So the Gemara right. Yeah. Boy Reb Chanina. Okay. Here comes the big lamda sheshaylis. And obviously, we're just going to run through it, but we'll try to mention what the issues are. What happens if this uber, we had a problem, like Rav, we have a problem of what? Of that you can't go out of the mechitza, right? So the question is, can I have a makeshift mechitza? Meaning that the mechitza of the uber, the womb of the mother, this hand is stuck out of, and since it's stuck out of, so we want to be aserid, but maybe we could substitute the womb of the mother with a different mechitza that this animal has. What would it be? What happens if the animal stuck out its hand be'azara ma'u? In the azara, why? Migu da have mechitza legabi kachim, have nami legabi hai. Hoydilma legabi the high lav mechitzi, the mechitzas over ima. Yeah. You hear the question? The question is like this: Lamaisa, this animal is in a azara, and legabe kodshim, the walls of the azara are considered a mechitza. So we can't say that this animal is outside. It's basada. It's not within the confines of the walls because it's within walls. It's within the different walls. Okay, but legabe kodshim, it's clearly in walls, and therefore could we consider this inside the walls and it's not possible outside the chayfa? What? Yeah, migu da havi mechitza legabi kachim havi nami legabi dahai yodilmo legabi dahai lav mechitzi. Or maybe legabi this is not mechitza. The mechitzas uber imayu. The mechitza of the uber is not azara. It's the imay. Yeah. So Rukega read Zois over here, Stam Agavorcha, Stam an important Nakuda, that we're not talking about non-kachim. We're talking about obviously something that is kachim. We're talking about an animal that's kachim, and it's not like that because we're talking about in the Azara, right? So we're talking about a kachim that it has these walls. These walls are walls that are playing a role in this animal, obviously, and right. So now we're clearing. Maybe the pshat is you can't call this basa basada treifa because it's not a treifa. It's not a besada. It's not outside because it's still within the walls. Or no, mechitzas uber imayu. So now, in what does the Gemara mean by mechitzas uber imayu? So I'm understanding from the olam that the olam is saying alam d'shazach that in every sif and shulchan aruch you have a different set of mechitzas, right? That the set of mechitzas, if the set of mechitzas of legabe shchita is the womb, and the set of mechitzas legabe kachim is the mechitzas ha'azara. Yeah, you think so? You think so? One second. Gemara mechitzas ibor imayu. Is that what the Gemara means? Maybe the Gemara is asking a lamda shashayla. The Gemara is saying, you're right, legabe kochim and legabe these are mechitzas, and they should work. But we're talking about a fetus here. The fetus is not regular kochim. This is the mechitza of an uber is the mother. It's not the azara. If we could somehow say that these were the mechitzas for the uber, you're right. But since this is an uber, the uber's walls are different walls, not because the pshat is we're talking about shchita and kachim. That's not what we're being mechalak here. We're being mechalak between the behema and the uber. Nope, the mashma said Gemara is still a little mashma like that, no? Okay.
What is the din of the uber if you shecht it as
there's a few things here to discuss. The plot Pshatov over here. So what were we talking about over here? Kipshuta, we could be talking about Saibe Kachim Kalim, right? And in fact, the Gemara says Rashi, when he says Mechitza Legabi Kachim, Rashi says we're talking about a Shlamim. But then the Gemara says Amalei Abaye V'Tibali Yilach Kachim Kalim B'Yushalayim, right? What do you mean? We were talking about Kachim Kalim before, right? These are the shtels that the Achronim are busy with. V'Tiboylach Kachim Kalim. So let's just go back to so Amalei Abaye V'Tiboylach Kachim Kalim B'Yushalayim. I Kachim Kalim B'Yushalayim. My time like Amiba. So what was he declaring? What was he declaring by Kachim Kalim B'Yushalayim? That what happens if the Uber stuck its hand out in Yerushalayim, right? So Yerushalayim it still has it's a chayma legabe achila of kachim kalim. You're allowed to eat it b'chol year, and the question is if it's going to blibe within the what's called if it's going to blibe within the if it's going to blibe a bas basad trefer. Now there's a very very big problem with this question. Rashi's mo'ir, yeah. And we're going to ask it the backwards way because just not the way that Mashal is Medayik and Rashi, but the other way. What happened over here? The Uber stuck its hand out while it's still in Yerushalayim, right? Did you shech the animal in Yerushalayim or not? If you shecht it, it's a regular shchitas chutz. Right? You have to shecht it only in the Beis HaMikdash. The teretz is what happened. You took it into the Beis HaMikdash. If you took it into Beis HaMikdash, right, and that's where you did the shchita, right? When we discuss basa basal the treifel isechelu, right? What are we discussing? What's the issue? Are we discussing every animal that just stuck its hand out at any given time, or only dafka if it stuck its hand out b'shas shchita? The halacha of our Mishnah of Eiva Hayotza, is there a concept of an Eiva Hayotza shaloi b'shas shchita? No. Who cares? Who cares what happened before? It's only b'shas shchita. The whole halacha of bas b'sad treif leisachel was only b'shas shchita. That it was yoytza chutz l'mechitzasei of the behema, right? But we don't care about what happened. There's a shver lashon Rambam that's mashma that it would make a difference if it's a hoitzi that it would make a difference. But kipshutoi, obviously it's only b'shas shchita. So who cares what happened in Yerushalayim? That is the plunter over here in this thing. So Zak Rashi.
Later on,
What? So this is very complicated, and we have to work through all the things. I'll just tell you two more Marim Kaimas, and we're going to have to run because it's already late. But two more Marim Kaimas. Rashi explains this case where the Uber stuck its hand out and then it returned it back in. But Rashi didn't say that in the case before that. In other words, in Rabbi Yirmiyah's Ikik question, where Rabbi Yirmiyah said, Claire the Shaila, by Hoitzi Obez Es Yadi Ba'azara, Rashi didn't say anything. It could be Sai sticking out and Sai coming back in. Sai le Tamadami Yesh le Levarim, Sai le Tamadami le Levarim. But now, over here, Rashi says no. Over here, we're talking about the Afka by Loitamad the Omar with the Afka talking about by where's Hoitzi, Vechnes, right? And then he brought it back into the Azara. And right? Why does it have to be talking about that? Why did Rashi change? Why did Rashi change that we have to be talking about that he put it back in? So I was saying that Dr. Marshall very pashut, right? Very pashut. That whether he brought it back in. Okay, I think I'm going to lose the. Okay, let's go. This is the Shaila. The Rashi over here says Hechzira, and the first case he doesn't say Hechzira. That's a little bit of a shtel. Let's go weiter. Zaktimar weiter. My time. Zaktimar. Oh, my time. Why didn't you declare by Kachim Kal B'Yushalayim? Because the mechitza is over Imahu. Because over there you understand that the mechitza of Yerushalayim is not a very central. It's not playing a central role, and it's not a strong wall, and it's definitely it won't take away the status of Basada from the fact that it's still within Yerushalayim. Hachanami mechitza say over Imahu, and therefore not the chayma, and therefore no makom to declare. By Ilfa, this Gemara we had before. We're going to just say it over again. This is the place. By Ilfa, let's say the Uber stuck its hand out in between the middle of the shchita, in between the kana and the veshet. Right? Mau mi mitzdarv simon rishon lesimon sheni letare midei nevela eloi. What's the shaila? We had before machlokes Rameh and the Chachamim. If the shchita on this the shchita, the hand is sticking out, and you did a shchita, right? So we said like this, that the hand bleibs nesar le'olam, right? The hand bleibs nesar le'olam. When it's sticking out, it's aslu kulyam. However, with the hand sticking out, so if the shchita didn't work, so we have two problems. First, we have a problem, we can't eat it, but we have another problem. That we have Tumas Nevela. Zog in the Chacham, so and that's what Rameh holds. It's not gonna have Tumas Nevela, and it gets even worse than that. Since the hand has Tumas Nevela, what's going to be a problem? There's a much more serious problem Rameh is going to make to us. That if the hand is Nevela, so then everything inside, which was just Geshacht, and it all gets a din of achila, it's makabel toma, and it's makabel toma, and everything becomes tame. So it will never be negeya to have any real serious ben pekor business, because it's all tame l'remeya, right? Because it all becomes tame automatically if the hand sticks out. Yeah, if the hand sticks out. If the hand didn't stick out, then it'll be good. But if the hand sticks out, you're out of business, right? But that's Rameh. The Chachamim say they split the baby, and they say that even though the shechita doesn't work on the arm, legabe on the Eivar Yoitze, legabe achila, but legabe Tumas Nevela somehow gets taken off on this Eivar Yoitze. That is the chiddush of the Chachamim, and the Chachamim say, if you remember, they say maga treifa shchuta, which means that Rashi tells us, the Gemara is going to explain later on that there's no toma on the treifa except midrabanan by kachim, right? But bottom line is that the shechita works on the hand legabe the nevela, legabe tumas nevela, but not legabe achila. So now let's clear if I'm shechting a behema and the hand sticks out in middle of between siman l'siman. So siman rishon was working full force. It was working to be machshel achila the hand and to be mitar midei nevela. When it comes to, by the time it comes to siman sheni and the hand is sticking out, so siman sheni can't work to be machshel achila. Could only work to be mitar midei nevela. So the question is, could these two simanim work hand in hand to be mitar midei nevela akopanim, or do we say that no, that since they have different roles, they set out to do different things, they can't be mitzdarif, and the hand that's sticking out would be tumas nevela, even like the chachama. That's Ilfa's suffix. Amar Rava kavachayma. It's pashut. The first one was doing b'chlam b'sayimana. It's out there to say not only to be mitayim nevela, but also mitayim achila. First siman shouldn't work for the hand akopanam to be mitayim nevela, and that is what the Gemara, what exactly the suffix of Gemara is, and what exactly the declaring is. That's beyond the scope. That's the Gemara. Here, this is the last clear that we're going to have on this sugya. What's the story with Zaroi? Now remember every word here. The word Zaroi. Ma'u lochush le Zaroi. What's going to be with the child of a ben pekua that had this odd thing that it had the hand sticking out, right? It had an Eivar Yoitze. Now remember, we're obviously only going not like Rameh. Remember this, because Rameh holds, and this we said in the Akdam of yesterday's shir, that Rameh holds that behema sheyatza chai at right kol lechadashav, a full grown animal that's going to be a fetus that was in its mother's stomach and came out fully formed is going to be is there's no din pekua, ben pekua. It's only on a loikal chadashav. So mamela, if you have this animal that's already having children, lachash lezaroi. Obviously, we're not discussing over here. We're obviously not talking about l'shitz rameya because we're talking about an animal that ben pekua works on, right? So we're talking about we're going loy techacham, and this is going to be negay for the Gemara later. So loy techacham that hold that ben pekua, you can have ben pekua lo me'ad, that once that animal could be born 100% fine, right, and not right. It could be born as long as the mother had a shchita, it'll work on the child. But the problem is that this child happens to have this handicap of the hand, that the hand has a Eiver HaYotze. So what's going to be with its child? Would it pass on this handicap of Eiver HaYotze to its child as well? That's the Gemara suffix. Frak the Gemara hekidami. What did you breed this handicapped ben pekua with? If you'll say that you bred it together with a behema ma'alisa, meaning a regular animal, not a ben pekua at all, my area, hi, the isbe iser yoytzei. Afilo ben pekua de almanah. Why do you have to declare in this question with a ben pekua that has this unique handicap that it has a Eiver HaYotze? A regular animal, you have this problem. If you breed a ben pekua together with a non ben pekua, we're up the creek anyway. If you hold ein choshen l'zerav, so you have nothing to worry about because we don't care about the father's involvement in the birth of the child. But l'divrei ein choshen l'zerav, ben pekua haba behema ma'alisa, a ben pekua that is bred together with a behema ma'alisa, havlad ein le'takana. The child is ein le'takana. And Rashi says two pshatim. It's kedai to see Rashi inside. Yeah, but let's just theorize the Gemara. So therefore, we have much bigger problems. If one of them is a ben pekua and the other one's not a ben pekua, so we have much bigger problems. We have problems regardless of if it has the Eiver HaYotze. We don't have to declare like in our case based on the Eiver HaYotze, right? That's obviously not where Rabbi Yirmiyah was clearing, right? Now, what's this halacha that a ben pekua haba al behema ma'al yisrav laden letakana? So Rashi says two svaras. Rashi says, ein letakana. Why? The mitzad of ein ton shchita kidnan, and mitzad ein ton shchita. So what? V'simanav einon simonim da balgei kishchutim dami. Inami havulei bar semenecha do behem tzricha reiv shnayim. So Rashi says two svaras. We don't know. Very interesting what the suffix is, but we don't know how to split up the simonim. One father is a ben pekua. The father is a ben pekua. The mother is a behema, is a regular behema. Right, and we're going like the mandam choshen l'zerav. So the father is involved. He is a player here, and he is and his status will be passed on to the child, but the mother's status will be passed on as well. So we're not sure how to look at it. Either the pshat is half and half get split beichus or get split b'kamus. Right? Either the pshat is that the father is we look at him as the source of both simonim, half of both simonim, and then we don't have any simon which is b'chlal needs shchita. Or do we look at it? Do we cut it the other way and we split it one simon to the mother, one simon to the father? But lamaisa seif kol seif, there's no father, there's no two simonim, so therefore you can't have a shchita. Yeah, this is an interesting Rashi. Let's go weiter. So tumor weiter. Lo tzricha dazla ben pekua de kavosei. The ozol a ben pekua de kavose. That what? That this ben pekua that has this handicap, that has a yotze, was bred together with another ben pekua. So we don't have Ram Misharshi's problem. So what's the halacha? Mai. Aver moilid, aver v'chatichle. So, but before we get to the Gemara's explanation to the question, I just want an important stop over here. Rashi doesn't say anything. Ben Pekur de Kavasei. Rashi doesn't say. Rashi says, "Ben Pekur de Kavasei. The ein avad ton shchita elo mishum chad aver. Vahu aver loy mishteri b'shchita the lav shchiti." Yeah. Yeah, that's the question, right? That's how Rashi says. Now, here Rashi only discusses the child. Now, here's the question: what is the mother? What's the mother? When we talk about in such a case that the mother, the father had one arm that was handicapped because Zeiva Yotza. What's the mother? So Tosfos says. The asa a ben pekur de kavasei sheyesh by etzer yoisei b'chadev. So Tosfos takes the words the kavasei very literally. That it's the asa a ben pekur de kavasei means a ben pekur just like its mother. What? Right. The father and the mother both have the handicap of exact same arm that stuck out, and that's where we're clearing. Rashi doesn't say anything. So there are those that want to say that the reason why Rashi's not clearing, Rashi doesn't say anything, is because the nusach of Rabbi Yirmiyah was Ma'u lochish lizaroi. Zaroi is mashma that we're worried about the father. If we're worried about the mother, we wouldn't say lizaroi. Lizaroi is mashma that we're worried about the father's input and not worried about the mother's input. That's how those that want to be medayik. Mashenke Tosfos is being medayik from the lashon of the ben pekua de kavosei, which is mashma that it's exactly the same. Exactly the same, but now we have to clear. I mean, why would we talk a clear like that? Why would the Gemara, even if Tosfos would say, even if Tosfos says that Ben Pekua the Kavasei means taka, he's being medayik in the lashon Gemara that we're clearing in such a case. But why taka are we clearing in such a case? Why taka are we clearing in a case where it's the Kavasei? Okay. Let's go weiter. Sagt immer weiter. Mai Ever Moilid Ever v'chatech. Do we say that the pshat is that every part of the animal of the parent corresponds to the part, to that corresponding part in the child? So that means that the finger of the father gives birth to the finger of the child, and the head gives birth to the head. So what we could do is very simple. I have a problem with the father's arm. He has an Ever HaYotze. So I will cut off the child's Ever HaYotze, because that's the one that have this problem that it's not Hota B'Shchita Simoy. It wasn't Hutta, I'm sorry, it wasn't Hutta, it's not Ben Pekua like all the rest. Of Ever Moilid Ever V'chatchle, I'll just chop it off. V'shari, and the rest of the animal is all a descendant of full Ben Pekuas. Oidoma Mevalbel Zarei. Oh baby, no. The zera of the father gets mixed up in the whole animal, and it has a hashpah and everything came from where? From this arm. So this arm is not only the father of the arm, it's the father of everything else, and therefore every part of the animal now has a little bit Ever HaYotze in it. That's the Gemara. It has to be that it's Maval Bozari. Obviously it gets mixed, right? The Imkain, this is his scientific raya, which is something that we understand implicitly, but he's bringing a raya. Summa, the Imkain, Summa Yolit Summa. If you would say Aver Yolit Aver, and whatever the father's every single part of the father's Aver, every part of the father is Moilid, its corresponding piece in the child. Imkain Summa Yolit Summa. If the father was blind, the child should be blind, because the eyes that gave birth to eyes are not working. The teretz is that eyes don't give birth to eyes. The whole body is maval b'zare, and every part of the animal gives birth to every part of the animal, right? Somebody who can't walk, somebody who's limps, is yelid kita ella pshita the maval b'zare, right? So it must be maval b'zare. So that can't be the suffix. So now we're back to square one. Why is he clearing over here by zare? What's the question? We're going to try another pshat. Yeah, we're not going to stay by this either. We're going to try a different pshat, but like this. Behema and every animal, right? The whole animal gives birth to its child, right? So, and the animal has basar, which is heter, and then it also has some things that are aser. It has dam, it has chelef. These are all things that are disqualified. These things that are aser, and still you're allowed to eat the child's meat, even though it came from chelef and dam. So here also, who cares? I don't care about the child, because what's the problem? The child is the child of the Isser of Ever HaYotza. Who cares? It has Ever HaYotza plus Chelev plus Dam. And just like Chelev and Dam was no problem, so Ever HaYotza is not a problem either, and I don't care, and the child should be mutter. You could be the child of 2, but that's it. That's the limit. Once you want to be the child of 3 Isurim, you're out. Sakti Gemara, there's no such a person. Leman. Who do we have 3 Isurim? Uleman. Rab Meir. Like Rab Meir that holds that what? That we're gonna see Rab Meir holds. Rab Meir is much more machmir legabi all the dinei ben pekua, and he holds that the pshat is that there's no he holds that a uber is not hutar be'isr chelev v'dam. Isr chelev v'dam ikke isr yotze leka. There's not going to be an isr yotze. Why is there not going to be an isr yotze? Because in such a case, where we're talking about an animal that was alive, was fully developed and gave birth to another child. Right, so it's called lechadashav. It's called lechadashav later meir. There's no din of b'chlal of ben pekua. The child, the father, and the mother, and needed regular shchita because there's no heter of ben pekua later meir. So there's no isayotza, right? The teretz is the questions like Rabbi Yehuda. So Enechanami is a problem with Yotze of Evar Yotze. Why? Because the pshat is because he holds that the father and the mother were both ben pekua, so they're huta b'shchita simam. But the Evar Yotze is also as b'sar b'sar treifa. But Issa chelev v'dam leka. But like Rabbi Yehuda, there's not going to be an Issa of chelev v'dam at all. What do you mean? Why is there no Issa chelev v'dam? Because the mother and the father are also ben pekuas. And if the father and mother are ben pekuas, Rabbi Yehuda says it's a free-for-all. Everything, kol b'behem yechelu, have at it. You can eat everything. You can eat the chelu, you can eat the geder anash, you can eat everything. And like Rabbi Yehuda, there's no makom to be clear, maybe tlas lo yamina, because there's no isurim, there's only one issa. This is the machlokes that we referred to already a few times. That Rameya holds that the gid hanasha is noig b'shalil. What's shalil? Shalil is what we call the sack of where the child would have, the skin where the child should have been living in, right? And Rameya is medayik to use the lashon of shalil because Rameya holds it's not alive, right? The Rameya is only masking to the halacha of ben pekua when it's not alive. So gid anash noig b'shalil v'chel b'yaser, and there's going to be a chelev to Rameya. Rabbi Yehuda ein noig b'shalil v'chel b'mater, and like Rabbi Yehuda, it's all a free for all. So Mamela what? There's no tlas yisurim. There's no makom to declare. Okay. So we're chayzev on the whole thing. Rabbi Yemi has no problem to be chayshish. And echanami mikoyach iser is not where we're coming from. The hachi coming by. So what was his clear? A whole new shaila. Mau ligmoya es not chelboy, a lotion of chelev. We're talking about the cholov, cholvoy. What's the story? Legabe drinking the milk. Right? Now, here is a very, very big problem over here, because now if we're clearing about the milk, so now we're clearing about the milk, so what's the zaroi? What's the zaroi over here? So Rashi explains that we have to be matcha, that we're talking about, we're talking about milk, and milk only comes from a cow that had already given birth, because before it gives birth it doesn't give off milk, right? So that's what we mean after it had zaroi. That's what we mean chelboy. But we're clearing what's the story about drinking the milk of this of what of a para that had an eva yotze? What's the suffix? Chalav the alma loy kever menachai dami v'shari. Every chalav of the alma, all chalav. How are you allowed to drink chalav? It's coming straight out of a live animal. The teretz is what? The teretz is the Torah has a heter of milk, right? But it's lav kever achai, and there's no ever menachai on milk, and that's it. So since there's no issa ever menachai on chalav, so therefore I have no makom to be asering to aser this chalav, because it's not ever menachai. Hi nami loishna. Buy a regular cow. The reason why there's no issa of Eva Menachai on the milk is because this animal is at least b'toiras. It's at least possible to do shchita. Hacha less later kantali isura b'shchita. And since there's no makom to ever be matter this arm of the mother, because she has an eva yoytze, and since she has an eva yoytze, so it will never be hota b'shchita. So maybe under such circumstances it'll be an issa of eva min hachai on the milk. That's how the Gemara goes. Now, this Gemara sounds very, very clear that the Issa of Eva Yotze is a what? Is an Issa of Eva Menachai. Yeah, that's the right. And there's more.
Very interesting Gemara.
Yeah. Kipshutai, the Rashba, the way he tells the kasha and the teretz on this Gemara is really the chakira of the that we discussed. If the issa of Eva Yotze is the issa of issa treifa or issa of menachai, because he asks the kasha, he tells it fakir. What do you mean we're saying that the cholav is normally mutter? Why are we talking about regular Eva menachai? We should be talking about the problem of cholav treifa, and cholav treifa is awesome, right? And then he says, no, it's not a issa treifa, it's issa of Eva menachai. So that's mamish l'chura. The kasha and the teretz is l'chura. This suffix of what's the issa of eva yotze, is the issa eva yotze issa of treifus, or is it the issa of eva min hachai? Yeah, very close. Okay, but let's go weiter. Let's move on. Now here comes the mamish the most he says the Gemara, because this is the makar for the sugya of the next couple of letter of the din of Ben Pekor. Where's the halacha? What's the makar for this halacha? Again, so it says v'chol behema, and then it says an extra word of ba behema. So we darshan behema, ba behema, the Rabbi Zevlad. A behema in a behema is mutter. What's this kasha? And this is what the whole amid, the next amid is going to be built on, that it's mashma with darshaning behema ba behema, which means that we're referring to a fetus as a behema. What do you mean? It already has a din behema. If it already has a shem behema as a fetus, then we're going to have other problems legabe tumura. What? And what we assume that the reason is what? Because it says by Tmura a lashon of behema, and an uber is not considered a behema, and that's what we assume the pshat is. But now that we're darshaning kol behema ba behema, that we're calling the fetus a behema as well, so then it should be yesh by Tmura. That's the most kasha. Ela makra, a new mahalach, a new drasha, but we're going to come back to this first drasha because we're going to answer this. But as of now, the Gemara falls off from this teretz. Ela makra v'chol behema the Rabbi Zavlad. That we're not darshaning chol behema ba behema. We're darshaning no. Kol behema, everything inside the behema. Kol behema l'Rabbi Zavlad. And I know already that he's already certain lomdim are already thinking that the suffix is gufa in the two drushes how Ben Pekua works. We'll see. If it's not kol behema ba behema, I don't have to be a behema inside to be a behema inside to get this heter. It's just everything inside. It's free for all. Kol behema techelu. So for nami. If I cut off a piece of the animal, the mother itself, it should also be kol behema techelu. Allah matran choytich min ha'ober sheb'meyel motu b'achila, but min ha'tchol min ha'kloyes also b'achila amakra oisa. That it says oisa teichelu. So the pshat is we need the mother to be shleima v'lei chasera. We need her to be complete, and when she's complete, then we could say everything else is inside is mutter. This is a little complicated because if I cut off a piece of the tchol, right, I still could say everything called by behema is inside. So it's a little bit hard to understand how this drasha works. Yeah? Understand? Because it's not a regular shleima v'lei chasera, and that's where you have a heter of the mother. No, because even if you cut off a piece of the tchol, if you, let's say somebody got into the animal inside and chopped off a piece of the tchol and a piece of the uber, the halacha will be, the tchol will be aser, and the uber will be mutter, right? Obviously, you don't need that the mother should be complete, right? So oisa means oisa for leichasera on the drasha of kol behema. Which means that if you shechted the animal and the fetus was so undeveloped that the hand didn't look like a hoof. Tishtari, it should be mutter. Why? Because it should be nechlon kol behema. Everything inside. It doesn't have to be a behema. Everything inside. Tishtari alama. Rabbi Yechon shechnas a behema. What's what? Was yoina also b'achila moving to amid beis. And for the Gemara, oh, you're right. You're right. But it's called behema. But being on process v'leka. There's other words over there. It says process, and being a process v'leka. Elamei the Gemara call it. If I need precise, I need it should be split hooves. So then a kullet, meaning that it's not split, it's just a hoof without split. Right? So the Gemara, no. There's a ton of the Bishmol that had a brisa nach from Reb Shimon Beichoi's Zeiten that says prasa babehema teichim. That it says prasois and prasa. So prasa tells you that you could even eat prasa, meaning one hove, even if it's not split. So that's how we dash in the first drasha. That's the drasha, the second drasha, which is kol behema teichelu. But Rav Simi Barashi Amalayim Kidika Amriv Meikara. No, we're going to resurrect our first shot. That behema va behema. That you have to have a shem behema, but a shem behema in a behema is good. Kidika Amriv. Kidika Amriv Meikara. Udika Kashi Loch Ema Mirid. I asked the kasha that how come there's no tumura, and that Mishnah said that there's no tumura by a uber. Why not? If a uber is called a behema, so then we should be tumura. There should be tumura by all things. Hamani Reb Shemini. The reason why there's no tumura by uber is has nothing to do with its status as being called a behema. It's for a totally different reason completely. Hamani Reb Shemini. The makish tumura lemaisa. The halacha of maisa behema, which is kol ashiyavet hachas hashevet, which is that you have to have complete alive, full well animals to be able to go under the stick to be able to be counted. That's where the halacha of Ma'aser Sheni is, and Reb Shimon, we're going to see later on, Reb Shimon is makish tumura l'Ma'aser, and since Ma'aser noig beivarim v'obrim, tumura heges beivarim v'obrim. So not because it's not called a behema. Our ober is called a behema. Why is there no tumura? Because makish tumura. Uminat timra. Now, the Gemara wants to say a very interesting tezach. The Gemara wants to say we're going to bring a raya that this is Reb Shimon from a whole different convoluted way. What we're going to do is like this. In the conversation of this shaila, if you could be meimer of by obrim, so Rabbi Yossi argues. And Rabbi Yossi argues with an argument that we're going to say that's Shitas Reb Shimon. Not everyone holds like that. And that will be a raya that's not, that the brisa that we brought in Amud Aleph of Eimah Mirin is not Stam Remeya, it's going to Shitas Reb Shimon. Uminatim not. Rabbi Yossi, V'haloi b'mukdoshim. Why are you saying that there's no Tmura on a Ober or on a Varim? If somebody says by Mukdashim somebody's Makdish just a leg, the whole thing, it's Nespasha Bekula. The same thing by Tmura, that it should be somehow be Nispasha Bekula. Now Agavorcha, the Piskarav is very, very, very famous from this Gemara, because what's the Tushtal? L'chura, his pashtus works that first the regel is niskadish, and then after that it spreads, right? That's that. We call it his pashtus. But l'chura, over here we want to argue that the whole thing should be the whole aver. It shouldn't. We want to prove from his pashtus to over here that it should be chal on the hand or on the uber. How do you help that it should be chal on the hand and the uber? By kachim, it's chal on the hand, because why shouldn't it be chal on the hand? By shaking over here, it can't be chal on the hand before to start off to be able to be mispashit. That is a problem, a lumdish problem that we have over here. Biskrov says it's a big vart that his pashtus is not, that it doesn't go in two stages, it doesn't spread. Somehow it happens right from the beginning, beyond the scope, but let's just go weiter. But anyway, Zok Gemara weiter, yeah? Now, and the Gemara is saying that this is where Rabbi Yosef was tying back to the Tanakama that said, ain't Tmura ba'obrim, right? And we are presumably Rabbi Yossi is arguing. He's talking to his bar plukta and he's saying you're masking in this case, so you should be masking in my case as well, right? But Rameh is not masking in that case because Rameh doesn't hold of his pashtus. So Akacha, it's going only Lashitas Reb Shimon that holds of his pashtus, right? It's only Rabbi Yossi and Reb Shimon that hold of his pashtus, and that's going to be the Gemara. Yep. Leman kama hadlei. Ilay v'Rameh of Rabbi Yehuda mi islu haisvar. They don't have his pashtus b'chlal. Tanya, Yachaloi Meragli Shozu Oilote, Kula Oila, Tamaloi Makola Shayite, Mimenu Lashem, Yea Kodesh. Mimenu Lashem, whatever you gave, Mimenu Lashem, Yea Kodesh, Mimenu Kodesh, V'lei Kula Kodesh. Yachal takes the Chulin, Tamaloi Ma Yea, Bav Yosete. But that leg that he was Makdish, as Avad becomes Kodesh, because it says Yea, Bav Yosete. So, okay, so what do? Timacher, you sell the animal that has this one leg that was Kodesh, L'tzorche Oilis, and the person that's going to buy it is going to use it for an oila. And all the money besides everything besides that one arm that was kaddish is going to go for chulin, right? That's Rameh or Rabbi Yehuda. There's no hispashtus. It goes. It just stays. That arm stays kaddish, and everything else stays chulin. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Aymin, no. Rabbi Yossi, Rabbi Shimon, Aymin. Minayin loy meragel shozu oila take kula oila tabud loy ma yiyah. The Rabbi says kula. The Rabbi says kula that tells you that it's mispash. So why are we saying? So Rabbi Yossi that was arguing back to the Tanakama and saying that just like there's hispashtus by hektish, there should be hispashtus by tmura, right? Who's he talking to? He can't either. They don't have hispashtus. Elalav, it must be. It's Rabbi Yossi is talking to Reb Shimon, his fellow hispashtus mate legabe hispashtus, who disagrees with him legabe tmura, and that's what he's saying. He's saying, I hold me and you, Reb Shimon, hold of his pashtus legabi hektish, so agree to me legabi tamura as well, right? That's the Gemara says, and Taka is going to Reb Shimon, and maybe everything's very gishmak. So Gemara, right? La Reb Shimoni. So Gemara, no. Loi Rabbi Yossi Taimed the Nafsheka Amar, which the Gemara means to say is like this: Rabbi Yossi is not arguing back to Reb Shimon that you agree with me his pasha, so therefore his pasha should work. Rabbi Yossi is saying my reasoning is that since his pashtus works by hektish, it works by tmura as well. But he's not talking to his bar plukta that agrees with his pashtus, and the Tanakama could be, it's not a raya, but it could be Rameh or Rabbi Yehuda that don't hold of his pashtus, but he's saying I hold of his pashtus, and that's why it should work. That's how, even though he says miloi, even though he says right? He's not saying that you agree. He's just saying that that's the halacha. And therefore, that's my reason why his pashtus should work. I really wanted to get to the end of to the block, but I guess it's not happening.